Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Winning Post. I'm Mandira Lalwani. The Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby is over, but the excitement and the after effects definitely linger on. On this episode, we have gone and spoken to each of the connections, be it the owner Vispi Patel, who's been into horse racing since he was 3 years old, but this was his first ever Derby win, the breeder Khushru boy, the trainer Suleiman, or the jockey. So enjoy catching up with all the connections and all the behind-the-scenes actions that has gone into making this horse a champion.
That is orders and off they go for the 2016 edition of the Kingfisher Ultra Derby Bangalore Grade 1. And he can go ahead straight to the queues here at the winning counter as Sergeant at Arms has won the 2016 edition of the Kingfisher Ultra Derby Bangalore Grade 1.
Sergeant at Arms brought joy to a lot of people when he landed this year's Kingfisher Ultra Derby. But none more than owner Vispi Patel, whose association with horse racing began when he was barely 3 years old.
My father has been in horse racing, I think, from a very long time, even before I was born, but started owning his first horses in the early 60s. And I was one of those kids who was born and brought up at the Turf Club. Well, a bunch of friends and we used to go and sit outside the racecourse. I think when this was in the late 60s and early 70s. Children under 18 weren't allowed into the racecourse, so our parents would be in and we'd be sitting outside on the trainers' benches from where they see morning work. And I have some very fond memories of them. So my initial racing was through horses gifted to me by my father, Vispi Patel, who was a committee member of the Royal West India Turf Club for also close to 30 years. My first horse was named V. Monsieur, and my father had bred him and gave me his share in him as an 18th birthday present to me. He won 2-3 races. In fact, Pacey rode him on a day. I had 3 horses in my name. In those days, I wasn't working, I was still in college, and all 3 were gifted to me by my father. And, all 3 won on the same day, with V. Monsieur winning the last leg of it. It was, I think it was around maybe 1980. I then owned, from the time maybe I was 25, 26 and earning myself, with Mr. Jehangir Dubash, who was like a father to me. And brought me up as much as my own parents did. I raced with him and his family for maybe the next 10, 12 years. We had some success. So I've raced over 30 years, and I think it's every owner, breeder's dream to win a derby, and didn't come easily.
Sergeant at Arms is co-owned by the Dhanji boys. The bond the owners share with each other made this victory all the more special.
I knew Khushru and Deepa Dhanji boy for many years. I mean, our parents have been friends and they would come over to our house for dinner and we'd go over theirs, but it wasn't the sort of bond I have with them today. And this chance train ride in the monsoon, I distinctly remember, that would be 1998. They were going up to Khandala, Lonavala, and then they had someone from their farm coming to fetch them. And we were going to Pune to stay at a very close friend's house for the weekend, and we got chatting, and I was quite curious about his farm, and I know a lot about thoroughbred pedigrees, and we spoke up the entire way. They invited us the next weekend or the following weekend to their farm, and we went up with them by train again. And I think that started a new bond and friendship, which still continues today. I then owned most of my horses with them. I would go regularly to the farm. I'd see foals grow up into yearlings and yearlings into 2-year-olds, and it would give me great joy to pick foals and yearlings that would then go on to race well. And I had immediate success with Khushru. The first horse I kept with him, I had 2 horses I kept with him. The filly was Courbet and the colt was Aldebra. And Aldebra went on to win the Indian 2000 Guineas. And, the next horse I kept in the next crop was a filly called Kantara. She, I think, in my opinion, was better than my 2000 Guineas winner, though she was unlucky and never won a classic. But she went on to be a very special sprinter miler, culminating her career winning the Group 2 AC Adeshar Gold Cup at the start of the Mumbai season. My third horse ran third in the Indian Derby, Flavius Victor, from the third crop of horses I kept a share with Khushru. The fourth one was a horse called Asindar, who went on to win the Hyderabad 2000 Guineas. The fifth horse was Sergeant's half-brother Diego Rivera, who has been my best horse till Sergeant came along. I wouldn't want to compare the two. Diego had a lot of problems in his formative years. He was quite lame from the time he was a 2-year-old to the end of his 3-year-old year. So missed all the classics, but then turned out to be a champion miler who still holds the 9-furlong track record in Mumbai and won us numerous terms and graded races over a mile. He's now retired and he's at Nanoli Stud Farm, and Khushru and I are ever so fond of him. I've had a few lean years post Diego till now, but Sergeant has come along, and I think we're all very blessed to have him, and he's really been thrilling to watch ever since he stepped on the racecourse for the first time in the end of February this year. Suleiman, Sergeant's trainer, started off his career with horses working with Khushru at Nanoli Stud. Ravi Reddy, the head of the stud, brought Suleiman and introduced him to Khushru and got him a job where he used to look after all the foals and help them till they grew to be yearlings, and somebody else took over looking after them from the time they were yearlings till they became 2 and left for the racecourse. Suleiman left Nanoli maybe 6-7 years after working there. We were all very fond of him, and in fact at the time quite upset that he had left Nanoli, but I think Suleiman had great ambitions to be a trainer and do something more than just working at a farm. About 3-4 years ago, Suleiman was allowed to take on a few outside horses, and that's when naturally Khushru, being very fond of him, gave him a couple every year.
All great horses have a story attached to them, and this one is no different.
There's a twist to this particular horse who was meant to go to another center. The trainer there didn't have a allocation available, and then when it came to being Bangalore, the natural choice was to send him to Suleiman. I always wanted to keep a share in a horse of Khushru's that went to Suleiman, and Suleiman called me sometime in January to say if I wanted a share, this could be a nice horse, why wouldn't I ask Khushru? And I think the rest is history. He ran the first time in a maiden at the end of February, a 6-furlong maiden. And when I spoke to Suleiman, he said he'll be a nice horse, but there is something very strongly fancied from Darius Behramji's stable that's already had a very good run in a previous million. That horse had placed in the million, and we might need this particular run. As it happened, he didn't need the run. He jumped out in front, and I don't think he was off the bridle even for a stride that day to win. Trevor felt the horse had a lot of potential, and 3 weeks later we ran him in the Bangalore Juvenile Million, which he won very easily by 5 lengths. We then put him away for the 2 big summer classics, hoping to give him a lead up in the big Bangalore Juvenile Million preceding the Coles Championship. Unfortunately, he got a fever on the Monday before the run, and we had to put him away. We gave him all the time he needed, gave him rest for I think 10 days, and then hurriedly sort of cantered him into a mock race 2 weeks before the Coles Championship, in which he fared very credibly. He sat behind the previous year's Bangalore Derby, Indian 2000 Guineas and Indian Derby winner Be Safe. Followed him through all the way around the 7-furlong mock race and was quite easy, about 3 lengths behind him. Be Safe was ridden out that way, and we felt quite confident that the horse was coming back to his peak. And a fortnight later, he did us really proud by winning the Coles Championship, running away by 4 lengths, being in quite a difficult position, turning for home.
Start his orders and off they go. Sergeant at Arms has won the 2016 edition of the Kingfisher Ultra Derby, Bangalore Grade 1.
While this Derby win, which is Vispi Patel's first, is one of the high points. Over the years, there have been many moments that the owner remembers fondly.
The rest is history. The Derby followed 3 weeks later. There were a lot of hiccups between even the Coles Championship and the Derby. He coughed a bit, he had an infection in his throat, and we had to treat him for that. But he's very classy, and to add to the class, he's got a lot of resilience. He overcomes all of these issues to win every time. He's run 4 times and been unbeaten. I think we're looking for a joyous but stressful winter now, where there'll be a lot of pressure on us more than him. Luckily, the horses don't realize what price they run at or the hype that's being built around them. Highlights, there have been lots. the winning the Indian 2000 Guineas in December 2002 with Aldebra was fabulous. And I think a lot of my top horses with Khushru have given us both great pleasure as they won some big races over the last 10 years. Another high point that we had was with Diego Rivera. We knew he was a very good 2-year-old, but he was lame all through from the December of his 2-year-old year for an entire year. And when we finally got him right, which was a combination of Dr. Feroz Khambata and Dr. Hasnain Mirza working on him relentlessly, our thought was if we could get 2-3 races with him, that would be fabulous because he had been lame for so long. And he finally ran 30 times and won 15 of those, and I think 9 of them were graded wins and term races. And a lot of them he carried absolute top weight and would win running away from the field. One memory that lives with me is the Southern Command Cup, which is a Group 3 mile race in Pune, where he carried 59.5, and most of his competition ran at somewhere between 51 and 49. And he toyed with the field and ran away winning by 5-6 lengths. I think that was a great day. I think it's quite a joke within my circle that I'm fairly interfering. Deepa feels I always wanted to be a trainer myself and I shouldn't be as interfering as I am. But I don't think it's interference. I just sort of share my point of view, and at the end of the day, there's always a consensus built around what works, and we always go with that. It's often not what I want, but that's part of the overall fun of having this, the thrill of having good horses. I'd love to say there was a stronger bond. Unfortunately, a lot of us have separate lives where we work, and there's not that often to where you can go to the stables and the racecourse to see them. But clearly there's a bond between the horse and the person who looks after him and grooms him every day. There's also a bond often between horse and trainer. We always joke with Pacey that he is a horse whisperer in his own right, and our horses speak with him, which they don't to any of us. And but certainly, if you put training as in very layman's terms, it's the fine cross between feeding and working the horses so that they're at their peak on their big days, their best days. But there's a lot more that also goes into it, whereas an intuitive trainer will know when a horse is not doing so well and needs to be pulled back or investigated with or rested with, and when you can push him and he'll continue sort of building on the blocks on where he is to his absolute peak, his or her absolute peak. Well, we are working on a plan at the moment, and we're working on whether to race him in the monsoon anymore or not. I individually would prefer he didn't, and we put him away for one prep run, either in Bangalore or in Mumbai before the Indian 2000 Guineas in Derby. Those would be his ultimate goals. I guess the 2000 Guineas is the immediate ultimate goal because he gets a mile clearly by winning the Coles Championship very easily. The 1.5 miles will always be something that we'll explore and figure out on the day itself, but we'll help give the horse every chance to get that trip.
Trainer Suleiman Attaollahi has almost grown up at the racecourse in Bangalore. The son of a trainer himself, his love for horses began long before he started saddling them.
My father was a trainer in Bangalore, and I used to ride at the Bari, and we used to ride in the gymkhanas. So I was a little kid when Zain, Hasnain, Dr. Ravi Reddy, a lot of them, Gautam Basappa, Kiran Basappa, they were all senior riders. So all these guys knew me from a kid because we rode with them. We had shifted to Pune, and I happened to bump into Dr. Ravi Reddy there. I asked him if I could come and work with him. I wanted to be a vet, it didn't happen. I was not a good student, and various things, you know. So he spoke to Mr. Dhanji Boy and got me a job at the farm. I was there for 7 years, and my life changed after that. Because I started from scratch and gradually rose to being a weanling manager. Apart from going up in designation, it was a lot of exposure and experience that I gained because of all the people. experts who would come once in 3 months or once in 6 months. Peter Huntington, Bernard Duvernay. So you met a lot of people from the business who were experts, and you learned from them. You got your basics from them. So it was a good base to come here. It was my dream to be a trainer. My father was more of a gambling sort of a trainer, didn't train for big owners. And I had decided that I will not come into this business till I have good owners, till I get a good break, till I get people who are not basically breeders and big owners. James Underwood usually comes down in the winter. He spends a lot of time in India because of Europe being really cold. So on one of his trips, he actually asked me this question: "What's your future? What do you plan to do?" So I said, "Someday I would want to be a trainer." So he said, "Have you spoken to Mr. Dhanji Boy?" I said, "I don't see the point in talking to him because he already has a setup. 2 trainers in Western India, 1 in Hyderabad, 1 in Bangalore, 2 in Bangalore. So there was no scope, there was no chance." But it so happened that the next morning, he and Ravi spoke to Mr. Dhanji Boy, and Mr. Dhanji Boy thought that it would be a good idea to base me in Bangalore. But the second hurdle was there was no replacement for me over there. So over the next 3-4 months, the thing just died out. A couple of months after that, I got a call from Rakesh, my brother-in-law, asking me to get in touch with Mr. Dhariwal. He was looking for an assistant. So I spoke to Mr. Dhariwal, and he said yes, he was looking for somebody who could take over from him. He was Dr. Malia's private trainer. But I think there was there were some changes going to happen in the company. I think Mr. Dickie Singh was going to leave, and they were looking for a replacement for him, and Zain Mirza came in. So once Zain Mirza came in, once he took over URBB, he asked me if I would be interested, and I said I would be, but I need to speak to Mr. Dhanji Boy about it. After a few days, I spoke to Mr. Dhanji Boy about it, and he gave me his blessings, and then I came and met Zain, and there was an interview, and I moved here.
If there were ever an example that hard work and keeping your nose to the ground eventually does pay off, it is the story of Suleiman Attaollahi, for whom success has come after years of putting in the effort into his passion.
I got my license here in Bangalore in 2007. I had my first winner thanks to Pacey on the 10th of June 2007, and for 6 months after that I didn't win a race. So it was a concern because we were not doing anything different from what we were doing with Mr. Dhariwal. Anyway, gradually over a period of time things started to change. I kept winning the races here and there, and gradually. When Be Safe came for the summer season with Malesh, when I saw the horse pass me one day, I was thinking and hoping and praying that I should probably get a horse. When will I get a horse like this? And Sergeant at Arms may not be at that level just now, or hasn't shown that he's so superior from the rest of them. But he was a very horse that had a lot of hype. So we were confident, but I have never handled a horse with so much of a hype, that the race is over and you won the race. So that was a little bit of a stress on my mind. Just now I would say he's the best horse I've trained, is because 4 starts, 4 wins, 2 Group 1s, 1 Group 3. So yes, he's probably the best horse I've trained, but I've trained many good horses. Angel Dust, CLO Ray, Sans Parel, Spearhead. It's not that I've not got the good horses and I'm not trained. It's just that we've not been right on top, like with this horse, when I'm not thinking about horses.
For all the rivalry on the track, the horse racing fraternity is a close-knit one.
There's a trainer called Neil Darasha. He's a good guy, and he keeps us entertained, and he keeps our stress levels down. So all we have to do is just chavi him a little bit about something, and he gets chavied, and he tries to chavi us. So it's good fun. It's you need that. You need to switch off a bit when you're working too. Basically, when your horses run well and when your horses do well, you wake up the next morning without any issues. But when they run badly and they run below expectations, you're not happy. So you don't feel like going to work and things like that. So basically, I feel horses that perform well doesn't necessarily have to be winning. Is motivation enough for you to be at work and things like that. There is a whole bunch of people. First, I would like to thank Team Nanoli, Dr. Ravi Reddy, Mr. Dhanji Boy, Mrs. Dhanji Boy, the entire team, whole big list of people. I cannot name each and every person because it will take a lot of time. Then obviously Zen Mirza, Pacey Shroff, and Mr. Dhariwal. You know, he was one of the main people. Mr. Martin Mahindra too. These 4 or 5 people, these 6 people are the main. Basically, they have changed my life. You know, the opportunities given to me, the things they have done for me has really, really changed my life. A lot of colleagues, a lot of senior trainers, a lot of friends on the track, off the track, who have been supportive of me when we were not doing that well. And lastly, my family. This is my family. Before I got married to her, I told her, this is my first wife. Having said that, she's been a great support, great help. And they say there's a woman behind every successful and unsuccessful man, and I give her the credit for my success too.
It's been a long journey to the top for the trainer, and he attributes his success to more than a few people who helped shape him and his career to the point where it is today.
I'd like to also thank Dr. Firoz Kambata, Laila, Dr. Hasnain Mirza, Peter Huntington, Bernard. All these people, learnt a lot of them, a lot from James Underwood. Learned a lot of things from these guys, and they've been there when we've had horses with issues. They've come down, treated them, got them right, set them right. So a whole lot of people, you know, like I said, the list will go on and on. Things don't change. If you win a big race or you lose a big race, things don't change because, like you said, you have to keep your horse happy. So you have to do things to keep your horse happy. At the end of the day, it's the horse. When the good owners and the good breeders, when they give you the good horses, we have to look after them, keep them happy, and they will run for you. It's their ability, which we have to channelize and extract to the maximum. I sit at home, watch TV, go out for movies, party sometimes. Once a year we go out for a holiday. You need that 10 days off. You need to get away from your horses and from the routine basically, so that you come back fresh and in body and mind to do a better job.
That's all we have for you in this episode of The Winning Post. Hope you really enjoyed this special coverage. Remember, if you've missed anything, you can always catch it on our YouTube channel. We'll see you soon, and until then, goodbye, and may the horse be with you.